Today, a short story long that will absolutely horrify any cupcake dads, any snowflake businessmen, and it will certainly offend and horrify the anti-work, anti-family, anti-freedom, anti-self-reliance and responsibility crowd. But then again, I shoot these daily videos for kings and closers and badass fathers, badass entrepreneurs, badass husbands. I do not shoot these videos for self-loathing poodles and victims, excuse makers, or do-nothings. Michael McLean, NoBoBook.com, BadassLetter.com, which is my monthly paper and paper and ink newsletter subscription, which is opening up again. You can get on my subscription list for my upcoming September newsletter, world building letter, mailed, shipped to your doorstep in September if you go to BadassLetter.com below. So, true story. If you know me at all, if you've watched me for a while, if you know me personally, if you know me as a husband, as a father, as a hockey coach, as a skating coach, business coach, marketing coach, even when I'm working with charities in our community, I am known as a iron fist inside the velvet glove. I first heard that term used with the great late badass titan Walt Disney. And they used to say about Walt, they said, well, you know, Disney is the so-called happiest place on earth. And anybody that knows Disney and the systems and the procedures and the standards that used to be demanded, not anymore. That's a woke culture. Movies are bankrupt. Company is in decline. But before that, it was Walt with the iron fist inside the velvet glove. And if you were an employee who worked at Disney, you could certainly verify that it was not the happiest place on earth. It was a place where you went to work. It was a place where your best was demanded. Standards were adhered to, trained, coached, and enforced. But that all started and ended with Walt as the iron fist inside the velvet glove. Think it was any different at Amazon with Bezos? Do you think it was any different? You see what's happened there in the last 14 months with morale, with results, with standards, the toxicity that's entering that business. And, when he was building that thing, Bezos is infamous for being the ultimate hard ass, the most demanding leader you could ever work for. He's the iron fist inside the velvet glove. The same with Steve Jobs, notorious iron fist inside the velvet glove. All of these guys, Jack Welch at GE back in the day, all these great companies that are in decline or extinct were once the top brands in the world because of the leader at the top with the iron fist inside the velvet glove. Bottom line, all the guys I just mentioned, ball busters. You either do it their way or you're gone and you'll be replaced in a New York minute. Those guys all had a personal mission. They lived and breathed. Every fiber of their body was part of that mission. If you didn't buy in, if you weren't all in, if you didn't burn the ships, those guys had no time for you working for them. Every single one of them, ball busters, iron fist inside the velvet glove. Which brings me to a true story that happened last month that I almost forgot about because it's so second nature to me. I almost forgot about this crazy story because it's in my DNA. This is how I react. This is how I think. This is how I behave. It's almost like I'm robotic in this area, where if I see something I don't like, if I see something that's not right, if I see something that's not being done correctly, if I see something that's being done half-assed or lazy, whatever it is, I've conditioned my mind and my behavior to react to fix that problem. That's from 22 years as a professional and amateur hockey coach, 31 years and counting as a bloody-nosed entrepreneur and business owner. This is in my blood. It's right there in my DNA. Standards, standards, standards. Whatever I tolerate, I'll get more of. So I've got this iron fist inside the velvet glove mentality, and I've had it for a couple of decades now. So I was invited last month to come out on a Sunday morning and run the training camp on ice practice for my old general manager, Bill White. And Bill, after a couple of years, I sold my team in 2020, and Bill semi-retired. He was my general manager and associate coach. So for the last 2.5 years, I mean, since I sold my team, Bill's been taking it easy and traveling and working. And he's taken on this new position with this junior hockey team in our area that finished, dead last, 20th place last year. They've never had a winning season in 6 years. So this team talked Bill into being general manager and head coach. And what they're hoping is he'll bring the magic from the Perth Blue Wings, our Barclay Cup team in 2019 won the Barclay Cup. They're hoping and that he'll bring that winning championship pedigree, that winning championship culture, and that magic. He'll bring that magic to this losing culture. So all Bill's talked to me about this summer is changing the culture, changing the culture, changing the culture, surrounding himself with winners, getting rid of the losers. All the stuff that I talk about to you each and every day is you can't have enough champions, changing the culture, all this kind, building your own world, building a new world, building a new team culture, all that kind of stuff. So what's very interesting is I was invited. Bill wanted to watch from the stands because this was a free agent camp. There was about 35 players. They're teenagers. They're 16 to age 21, and they're on the ice, and they're there. We're just running a practice, and then we're having a scrimmage in the afternoon. So I'm on the ice with these kids for about 70 minutes. 70 minutes with yours relentless on the ice. And I love it because I haven't ran a practice in a couple of years since I sold my team. So I love to get out there, especially with the better players, the older players. I mean, I work with I coach Emery's team, and I coach at my daughter's power skating, but it's those kids are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. But this here is a totally different ball of wax. And I just love getting out there with the guys, the 15, 16, the 20-year-old guys. That's my wheelhouse. So I was happy to be invited. So I go over there on the Sunday morning, and, I'm aware Bill wants to change the culture. He wants to get maybe 15 players out of these 35, and then main camp will start in September. So then they'll go from there. So the rebuild has started. And Bill's handpicked some of these players, and things are gradually improving. He'll get that team out of that basement. There'll be a very competitive team the first year, and he'll build it up over the next few years like we did in Perth. And he'll give them their best chance to win. But it's going to take some time. So I run the practice. I'm on the ice for 70 minutes with the kids. And of course, with a losing culture, plus it's July, these guys are not in good shape. They're not used to the pro level of practice that I run. I run in an NHL practice. I always have. Anybody that's ever been on the ice with me knows that it can be like dying. Like it can be like dying. So I'm putting these guys through the ringer so that Bill can get a good look at them. I want to see who's going to quit. I want to see who's going to push through the pain. I want to see who was out the night before. drinking, didn't get enough sleep. I'm out there to test these guys. So every drill is a one-on-one competition, two-on-two competition. So we're getting a real good look at these kids. And, I bring them in, they hydrate, we do another drill. I bring them in, we just go, go, go. The pace is pro level, and these kids have never experienced anything like this. But here's the point. This is the first impression for these young men. Most of them are from last year's team, dead last. And the new guys, it's a first impression. So this practice, even though it's just a free agent camp, a lot of coaches would say, oh, it doesn't really matter. It matters because you're setting the tone for the next 10 months. That practice sets the tone for the next 10 months. So I take that responsibility seriously, and I'm out there to, the pace. We're pushing the pace. We're talking about championship effort. I'm talking about championship desire, championship mental toughness, all this kind of stuff. I'm into the stories already. 30-second story, hydrate and go. So it was interesting. The guys worked for 70 minutes. They did a good job, and we leave the ice, and they go and shower, and it's lunchtime. And the owner of this team has been through this for 6 or 7 years. He had a season where they didn't win a single game. They went like 0-42 or something. I've just never heard of such a thing. And so this guy, terrific guy, way too soft, certainly not an iron fist and a velvet glove. The players in the past have taken advantage of him. The parents have taken advantage. And that's how you build a losing culture, right? Entitlement and victimhood and excuses and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, he tells the players, he says, okay, I bought you guys lunch from Subway. There's subs, there's water, there's Gatorade, there's a little bit of dessert there, bags of chips. And he puts it all in this room, in this beautiful facility we're in, right? It's just a meeting room. It's a small meeting room that'll hold the 35 guys with tables and chairs. So this is all second nature to me. I just, I hang around after. I talk to some of the guys. I talk to some of the parents. But mostly I'm just sitting in the locker room, the coach's locker room, talking hockey, which I love to do. So I'm the last guy into the lunchroom. I'm the last guy, me and my brother, my younger brother, David. And we walk in there. My two nephews were on the ice as well. Both of them are top elite players in the country, and they just came out for a skate, and they also came out to increase the pace. It's like having a Division I football player come to a practice at a high school. It's like having an NHL player come to a minor league. It just the pace and everything, they set the tone. So I covered a lot of bases in terms of that first impression. So I come down and I walk in, I take my hat off, and I walk into this little room, and here's the 35 kids, and they're all sitting at the table, and they all have their Subway subs out. They got their bags of chips, they got their Gatorade, and the owner's there, and the owner's wife is the person who's giving them their subs and stuff, and the new coaches, including Bill, are there. And my brother and I walk in, and I just take one look. And you want to talk about iron fist inside a velvet glove. I didn't even have to think about it. This is not my team. I'm not coaching it. I don't own it. I'm not going to be helping out from this day forward. I was just there to help my good friend. I walked in that room and I saw 35 ball caps. I saw 35 young men with their cell phones on the table, filling their faces with food. And I walked in that room, and without breaking stride, I yelled, get those fucking ball caps off and put those fucking phones away. If you could have seen 35 guys scramble for their life, and they know I'm authentic. They know I'll take that hat off for them, and I'll put that phone away for them. It wasn't my show to run. It wasn't even my place. But as long as I'm associated with it, I guess it kind of extends to that. And because I'm such great friends with Bill, and he's not the iron fist inside the velvet glove, I just couldn't believe it. Here he is trying to start this new culture, and it's the details that matter. So the 35 guys, they take their ball caps off, they sit up straight, and they eat their food. And then I'm watching. And I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that room, right? And my brother's laughing. He's laughing because he knows, right? That's the McLean way. We do things right, and if it's not right, we'll tell it to your face. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So I set the tone in that lunchroom just like I had on the ice. And these guys are like, who the fuck is this guy? He's insane. He's insane. But here's the thing. They have their lunch and stuff and they're sitting there. There's no more phones, no more hats. I'm watching, right? I never ever stop watching. I'm the iron fist inside the velvet glove. You want to change your culture? I'm watching 24/7. So some of the kids get up and they take their stuff and I'm like, pick up your stuff, clean the table, push in your chair, and thank Mrs. So-and-so for your lunch. That's the first kid that stood up. So he does all those things. He does this. He takes his Gatorade. He's going to leave his Gatorade just cupcakes, right? And they're cupcake parents who've raised cupcake snowflake kids. Not in my world. So he does that, the whole thing. Next couple guys get up, and it's just like osmosis. It spreads, right? Everybody gets up. They put all their trash together. They grab their Gatorade or their water. They push in their chair. I'm huge on that. In this house, okay, if I see a chair that's not pushed in, I go fucking ape shit. The details, yeah, it matters. Oh, Michael, it matters. It matters. Manners matter, and there are none anymore. So these kids, 35 of them, they eat, they think, and I'm like, excuse me, who are the captains? Who are the captains from last year? So there's like two guys, two of the captains are back. I said, these tables, I said, go to the rink maintenance crew and ask for paper towels and cloths and things to spray the table, cleaning agent. I said, these tables need to all be wiped down. The chairs need to be wiped down. And then I said, get some of your other guys. I want all these tables folded, all the chairs folded, and I want everything put up against the wall like we were never here. Those rink guys would have to come in there. They'd have to clean the floor. They'd have to clean the tables. They'd have to clean the chairs. They'd have to put everything away. I'm like, no. I said, it's like we leave things better than when we were here. And I've talked about that in the past. We used to mop the floors after our games in the road. That's called cleaning the sheds in rugby. That's called sweeping the sheds in rugby, where you leave everything better than when you were there. You go into a McDonald's, you leave it better than you were there. Chair pushed in, table wiped, all your food away. You walk into a Chick-fil-A, you leave it better than you were there. You go to church, you leave it better than when you were there, when you first got there. You go into your business, your own office, you leave it better than when you were first there. You leave things better. That's part of being a badass world builder. So we leave that room spotless. I mean, absolutely spotless. And that's the end of my day. I get in my truck, I go home. That was all I had to do. So I get a call from Bill later that night because they had a scrimmage in the afternoon and they had exit interviews. They brought each player in at the end of the day and they talked to them and they said, we're interested in having you to main camp, or we're not interested. And we get, that kind of stuff, pretty quick stuff. 35 guys, boom, in and out. So Bill he sits on the phone, he goes, Michael, he says, you won't believe the impact, he said, you walking into that lunchroom had on this group and this culture. And I'm like, no shit. I said, if you're going to take that now, you're going to take that all year. I said, hats on, phones out, slouching in chairs, leaving things dirty, leaving things for others to clean up. I said, I don't understand, Bill. I said, that's not the Perth way. That's not how we built a championship in Perth. So it was kind of a wake-up call for him. I said, you talk about wanting to build a culture. I said, you don't build a culture on the ice. You don't build a championship culture on the ice. That's part of it. What I did out there is part of it. Hard work, extreme discipline, mental toughness. That's all part of it. But winning culture, I've learned in business and in my personal life and in hockey, is done in the lunchroom. It's what standards you have on the bus, what standards you have in the lobby with your players, how your players behave in a restaurant, how they behave in the hotel, how they leave things, how they dress, how they approach people, their manners. That's building culture. Plus, you're teaching these young men how to be, young men, because they're not learning anything at home. They're not learning anything at school. They're not learning anything from their friends. In fact, they're learning what not to do, right? So I wanted to share that story of the iron fist inside the velvet glove. You've got to get yourself to the point where this is automatic. Like at your table, you come here to my lake house and you sit at the table and you have a ball cap. It won't be long till you're sitting on your back. Okay, like nobody would ever come in my home and sit down and disrespect the food, the fellowship, and sit there with a ball cap. And if they did, it'd be the one time they did. I don't have those tomato cans in my life. Nobody ever, whether I'm having lunch with them or having breakfast at a diner or supper or even here, nobody ever has a phone out. not at a birthday, not at Thanksgiving. I don't tolerate any of that. So I don't tolerate it so it doesn't happen, right? I've curated all that I've curated bad manners out of my life. I've curated bad etiquette out of my life. I've swift sword rude people out of my life. I've swift sword rude kids out of my life. That you know, if my daughter has a friend who's like, we've had friends there that we just completely swift sword out. They'll never be invited back because, you know, they don't have manners and they don't have etiquette, and I don't want my kid around them. So my question to you today is, what do you tolerate in your world right now? I bet you there's lots of stuff in your business that you tolerate that you don't even notice because the standards are so low, and they've been so low for a lot. You know, the guy that comes in 7 minutes late, you know, the shorts and the flip-flops instead of the way you should be dressed in business, the language, you know, instead of sending a solid etiquette email or a text, you text your employees, or you text like you're a 12-year-old little boy. You know, your grammar's gone to shit, your dress code's gone to shit, your mindset's gone to shit, and then you wonder why your bottom line ledger has gone to shit. And I'm just constantly the opposite. I'm like, okay, I'm paranoid, right? I'm paranoid. And I'm just like, where are the leaks? Where are the wolves howling at the door? Where does the iron fist have to be come down? And I'm always looking ways to change things up. Always to put, you know, my employees on their toes. Always doing spot checks. I did a spot check at the barbershop the other night at 8:30 at night. I walked in, I did an entire cleaning checklist, and they had a feeling I was coming. And I checked, you know, I did the white glove thing to make sure there was no dust on the top glass things. I did everything. I'm in there at 8:30 at night. The staff or the barbers are gone, and I'm in there with the iron fist and the velvet glove. And to their credit, they came through because they know I'm always checking. I'm holding them accountable. But what do you accept in your life that you get more of, and it's a low standard? Because maybe you accept cell phones. Maybe you accept that from yourself. You know, maybe you're the lead dog with all this bad behavior. Maybe your manners need to be upgraded. Maybe your grammar needs to be upgraded. Maybe your emails and texts need to be upgraded. Maybe your dress code and your fitness and you know, your manners in your home. Maybe the way you speak to your wife, the way you speak to your kids. Maybe you're the person who needs the upgrade. Maybe you're the person who, you know, is in that room who needs to be smartened up and put the tables away. It all starts with us, right? I can't go in that room or on that ice or in that lunchroom like that unless I have the integrity. And I have the integrity because I'm first at the rink that day. I'm fit. I'm ready. I'm rested. I'm mentally ready to go. I'm hydrated. So I'm not asking those young men to do anything that I'm not going to do. I push in my own chair. I don't wear a ball cap. I'm dressed like a pro. I put my garbage away. I go over to the owner's wife and thank her for inviting me and my brother and my nephews there. And, you know, you're setting the culture, you're setting the tone. And it was funny because back to my story about Bill calling me, he said, Michael, he said, the impact was incredible. He said, every kid that we want to have into our main camp, like the best kids they see potential in, almost every one of those young men talked about that impact that it had. And they said, is that guy going to be helping out the team this year? Because we hope so. We want that. We're tired of the losing. We're tired of the cancer, the toxicity. We hope that guy can be involved. And Bill's like, well, Michael's not. He's only here today. So winners win, right? Winners win. And the only kids that were like shocked by that, the snowflakes and the cupcakes, are the guys that you don't want as part of your program. And they're the guys in the exit interview that say, you know, well, that's a bit harsh or that's a bit whatever. So it's a great way. You get rid of the losers and you attract the winners. And what did the great Jimmy Johnson in Dallas say? 2-time Stanley Cup or Super Bowl back-to-back winner. How did you take the Cowboys from the outhouse to the penthouse to a Super Bowl? I got rid of all the losers. And he filled his locker room with winners. How do we win a Barclay Cup in 2019? High standards, iron fist inside the velvet glove, and I filled that locker room with champions. I filled that room with champions. How did Team Canada just win the men's World Juniors a couple days ago? Team Canada, they filled that team with champions. How did our Canadian Olympic men's hockey team over the last 3 Olympics win gold? Before this last one, when the pros didn't play, they filled that locker room with champions. They filled that room with captains and cleaners and closers. And then it's pretty much a foregone conclusion So in your business, what are you tolerating? Because you're going to get more of that. Remember, you're not your highest dreams. You're not your highest dreams. You can dream like some fantasy guy your whole life. At the end of the day, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your business, your physical health, it's all one thing. Okay? It's not your dreams and it's not just your goals. It's your lowest standards. You are your lowest standard. You are your lowest. You're not your highest standard. You're your lowest standard. You can have this amazing business and you can have a disconnected marriage. You can have this amazing bank account full of money and you can be disconnected from your children and you'll never have peace of mind and you'll never build your world. Life isn't about silos. There's no silos. There's no great business but a terrible marriage. There's no great marriage but a terrible business. There's no silos in life. You're not going to be rich, but you're also going to be unhealthy. There's no silos. You got to put it all together under one big umbrella, and that's what world building is all about. And they all take time and they all take investment, but they also take standards. Standards. You are your lowest standards. Michael McLean is his lowest standards. If I'm bleeding in some area of my life, you know what? That affects and bleeds into all my other parts of my life. So I'm my lowest standards. So I got to make sure that I'm constantly demanding more of myself, more of myself, more of myself, more of myself, and demanding more from the people around me. Better, 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 more, more, more. And that way I'm the lead dog, right? I want to be at a pace of 9.5 out of 10. I don't want to be sucking wind at 3 and then everybody around me sucking wind at 1 or 2. I set the pace and I'm responsible for the results in my life. So think about that. Does your business and your life need the iron fist inside the velvet glove? Who's enforcing standards, or do you even have standards? Or are you just going with the flow? Nothing's more important in today's world than that story I just told you about the iron fist inside the velvet glove. That's it. I've got to take my daughter to summer camp. I have a call today at 2 o'clock with the great Bill Gaw, and I'll put the Marc-Andre, I'll put the link below. And also, if you're interested in applying for my Champions $50,000 mastermind, you can do that below at badasschampion.com. You want to hook your wagon to winners. You want to hook your wagon to champions. You want to cut the rope with people that no longer serve you. Then go to badasschampion.com. Remember to hug your wife and your children tonight and tell the most important people in your life how important they are. Boy, oh boy, it's critical that every day we're telling our wife and our children how much they mean to us. That's it. 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that can certainly change yours. Be relentless.